Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our end of year event. Today, I'm really excited to host this special final event of 2020, during which we will be talking about how you can get your small business ready for a knockout 2021 and share with you some exciting offers and prizes. So we have a fantastic panel, and thank you for being here today. I will let them introduce themselves in a minute. Before we start, just a quick tour of Zoom for those of you who haven't used it before. Depending on how you're watching us, there is a toolbar rather at the top or the bottom of your screen where you will see a chat room and a Q&A room. We will be doing Q&As at the end of the session, so please do make sure you put all your questions in the Q&A box for our panelists. And then if there is any comments you'd like to make, please put those in the chat room. So, fantastic. I can see, a good number of you that have joined us. Great. So I will just start introducing myself now. So my name is Valentine Hutchings. I'm an event manager here at Tide. And for those of you who are new to Tide and what we do, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of our service before we start. So we are the fastest growing online business current account provider in the UK, and we currently have over 250,000 members. Our aim is to provide our members with a service that saves them both time and money when it comes to their business banking. We have the sign-up process is really quick and easy. It takes between 5 and 10 minutes, and then you will receive your sort code, account number, and your card will follow in the next day in the post. The app itself is really easy to set up and use as well, as we have huge amounts of in-app products that will make your banking life a lot easier. So Oliver is going to mention some of those very exciting features that we have developed this year and that we'll be developing in the next year. But the one I wanted to mention as well is, for instance, our auto-categorization tool. Categorize all your transactions for you, or invoicing feature that allows you to create, customize, and send professional invoices from the app, and many other features that just help you save time when it comes to doing your business banking. And Oliver will touch base on some of those as well a bit later on in this event. One thing I also wanted to mention is that we have some fantastic membership plans to help our members even further with their business, including Type Plus cashback. So this is a brand new membership that gives you 0.5% cashback on everything you spend on your card. It also gives you 150 free transfers, access to our legal helpline 24/7 for both your personal and personal questions, and many other member perks. As an early Christmas present, we are offering to our members on our standard plan attending this live event the chance to upgrade to Plus Cashback for free for 3 months until the end of December. So we're also very exciting. We also have a very exciting cash prize draw for our members that have ordered Team Card this week. So we will announce the winner just before the Q&A, so make sure you stay on for that as well. I will chat to you a bit later on about how to make sure you stay up to date with what we are doing here at Tide. But for now, let's get on with the event. So without further ado, I'm going to let our fantastic speaker introduce themselves, starting with Michelle. Good morning, Michelle.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for inviting me today. It's lovely to see you. Introduce myself. My name is Michelle Ovens. I am founder of Small Business Britain, and we are a campaigning and championing organisation for the UK's nearly 6 million small businesses. I really hope we'll still have them in 2021. I run a number of different campaigns, Small Business Saturday being the biggest, which was just over a week and a half ago, which was the biggest Saturday for small businesses spent for many years, actually. And I think we're going to come on to that a bit later, but I do think that kind of reflects the nation has become more of a small business nation this year, and I think that's a really encouraging thing. We also run a number of other campaigns, and particularly I wanted to mention F Entrepreneur, which is supported by Tide, and this is to champion female entrepreneurs, which is an absolute joy. It's an absolute joy to work with Tide on this, but it's a completely amazing program, really phenomenal women. We have what we call our I Also program. So I guess it's the kind of 21st century version of a portfolio career, and women are reinventing what it means to be entrepreneurs. So it's incredibly exciting to work on that. We also launched this year our entrepreneur campaign. You can see that we've been really snappy with our naming conventions this year, but this is to celebrate founders from diverse backgrounds. And again, that's been a massive addition to our portfolio this year. We do a lot of research with small businesses. We speak to them all the time, every day, online in surveys, one-to-one interviews, and of course through events throughout the year. So that's broadly me. Live and breathe small businesses.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and looking forward to have all your expertise about small businesses during the presentation today. Good morning, Oliver. Can I please ask you to introduce yourself as well?
Hi, Val. Yeah, absolutely. And Michelle, very, very impressive. And thank you, Michelle, that you're joining us. So I'm Oliver Prill. I'm the CEO of Tide. So real pleasure. It's actually my dream job. I've been in my 25 years in sort of financial services, admittedly sometimes at the wrong end. I'm now really feeling with Tide, where we're trying to really do the best for small businesses. And so it's a real pleasure. I think as Michelle was said, those that really know, how the economy works know that the role small businesses play in it is absolutely vital. It is really hard being a small business owner. It is a real challenge. And what we set out at Tide, and I personally really believe in, is that we should try to make life easier, save people time. And so a lot of what we do at Tide is motivated by helping small businesses. And I know we're going to come on to this, Val, but in particular, of course, this year has been a challenge that I think no one has asked for, and probably at least in living memory, it's not something that any of us remember. And so it's been, quite a challenge. I look forward to speaking about that a little bit later. Thanks for hosting this.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Oliver. And thank you again both for being here with us today. So to start, I wanted to ask you, Michelle, because we're going to start with a bit of a review of the year. As you both said, 2020 was incredibly challenging for small businesses. We also saw a lot of opportunities as well rising this year. So to start, I wanted to ask you, Michelle, if you could share with us what COVID really meant for small businesses and how they reacted and adapted to it.
This is going to have to be a whistle-stop tour because this is a massive topic, of course. We use the word unprecedented far too much, but it really was an unexpected and unprecedented year for small businesses. And actually, it's important, I think, to see it in that context, because we're in a period of quite low small business confidence even before the pandemic hit in 2020. And of course, small businesses responded and could respond differently depending on their situation going into the pandemic, their size, their sector, their location, a whole range of different things that impacted. There were some common things like footfall dropped off a cliff for many consumer facing businesses. Spend dropped, a lot of business decisions got halted. So we kind of hit a bit of a wall, really, in March this year. And actually what we saw businesses going through, and it ranged from a 1 day to maybe 8 weeks process of mourning, actually, and mourning for the business that they had before, or the plans that they had before. And a lot of businesses had come into 2020 and we were the same, feeling, right, okay, kind of new decade, 2020, making a lot of plans. And of course, those plans just had to be thrown out the window, and new plans had to be made. And businesses responded at different speeds to that. Some of which depended on the what was available to them, of course. So we've seen a lot of businesses that haven't opened back up again, even since since the first lockdown. We've also seen at the other end of the spectrum, some businesses really thrive. And then a kind of a big middle section, I mean, 3 to 4 million businesses who are struggling in some way, but are pressing on. And that's, I think, testament to the entrepreneurial spirit, which is just an incredible thing to see. The businesses that have tended to do best are those that are naturally digital. That's definitely been a bonus this year. And I think if we're looking for a positive to come out of it, it's the rapid growth of digital skills in small businesses that we've seen throughout 2020, and I think that's a really encouraging thing. And we've been harping on about this for years now, and it's, you know, it's the message is absolutely getting through, because when you are isolated, and particularly in the first lockdown, with complete isolation, it was what was left. You know, and it's what's left for individuals, it's what's left for business. There was a massive growth in individual use of the internet, and businesses that engaged with that often found, if they didn't necessarily turn it into revenue, certainly they turned it into opportunities potentially for the future, and that could shift a business from feeling pessimistic, feeling optimistic about the future. The biggest challenge for the small businesses this year, I think, has been the inability to plan for any length of time, as changes have kept coming, and I think we're going to see that for a while. So the most important, when we talk to businesses about how they've got through 2020, the thing that comes up is the ability to adapt and to keep adapting, and to not get too tied to this is the plan for the next 12 months, because can't really have a 12-month plan at the moment, but thinking about what's coming up in the next few weeks, being as flexible as possibly can, taking a really forensic look at your business, and actually platforms such as Tide and some of those accounting platforms that you hook up to as well are really helpful for businesses to get a really clear view on what exactly is happening in their business. And it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, you know, and to do things because we've always done them. You know, where businesses have been able to take a step back and go, you know what, I don't absolutely need that, so I'm going to exit that, or that's not a flexible cost, so I'm going to try and exit that as well. It's put them in a better position to respond to shocks as they've happened. And our research is in that, and don't get me wrong, and I won't want to sugarcoat any of it, because it's been a hideous year for a lot of small businesses, but a lot of businesses have told us that they were in a better position to cope with this last lockdown than they were with the first one, because of the changes that they've made to their business. And they have a sense that it has made their business more resilient to shocks. Now, that's a massive generalization, of course, and there are lots of sectors that small businesses are not one sector. Small businesses are in every sector. You can find them in defence, you can find them in cleaning, you can find them in cake baking, plumbing, I mean, everywhere. So, and there's a lot of talk about how hospitality has been really hit, particularly with tier 3 in England, and with closures in the different nations. And that's I think that's a specific sector that is going to need some extra support. And there's been amazing pivots this year. Use the word pivot. Now, I was talking to a journalist a couple of weeks ago, and she said to me, do you know what? I keep hearing this. I don't really know what pivot means, which I thought was incredibly refreshingly honest, actually. The pivot, we just mean not like Ross and Friends on the stair with the sofa, but thinking about your business and how you can kind of maybe slightly adjust it in a different direction. So it's really about adapting. So while a lot of hospitality has adapted, there's for many, there's a limit to how much that you can do that. It's an amazing story that a company called Pilgrim Pizzas, it's a pizza restaurant, and they developed in the first lockdown pizza in a pan. So this is really quite impressive. You get a box and it's wrapped in ice, and then the ice is wrapped in wool. Incredible. The wool kind of insulates the ice, but also it soaks it up as it melts. That allows it to go in the post. So your pizza dough arrives completely fresh, with fresh mozzarella and fresh ingredients, and you make your own pizza in a pan. So because they couldn't open the restaurant, they developed this in the first lockdown. Now they way outsell any sales they ever made in the restaurant with their postal pizzas. And that I think I find really encouraging, partly because they just kind of threw out the old rules. You know, anyone who says you can't send dough and mozzarella in the post, like, I'm going to make a plan for that. And that's really, I think that's really amazing. It's not like every business can find an alternative, but they had a really tricky situation. They're in London, they're massive footfall that just disappeared and really has never come back. Mm-hmm. So So I think that's one of the positives, I think, to come out of 2020 is some of these incredible innovations. And the thing I would say to small businesses who are really struggling, and there's a lot of them, is to have a look around and ask questions and ask people how they've adapted, what they've applied to their business, and see if there's anything you can nick. Brazenly steal other people's ideas. There's a top tip for 2020.
Just talk to your fellow entrepreneurs and small businesses. Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm just conscious of time, so we're just going to move on to Oliver. But thank you so much for sharing all of these tips and stories, and also I think it's incredibly important, as you say, just this constant adaptation and pivot, as we say. Now, Oliver, our members were part of the small businesses who faced all the uncertainty COVID brought that Michelle mentioned. Could you tell us how Tide adapted to best support them during these challenging times?
Yeah, and I think as you quite rightly say, it was a very diverse experience, right? So all of us went into it, as Michelle said, ourselves, our product roadmap, how we were looking to go for the year. We felt very much like Michelle. We had a plan, we thought we had it all sussed, and things started to look very bright. And I think all of us, I definitely didn't foresee it. We're of course quite taken into a shock what happened in March. So, how did we as Tide react to it? So first of all, there is a level, before I come how to support the members, is we actually, as a business ourselves, adjusted. And I think a lot of the tips that Michelle just gave around, rather than thinking 12, 24 months ahead, really look at the next, 1, 2, 3 months, do the right thing, we call it agile, right? Be ready to sort of adjust to the, to the circumstances. And that does take a mindset change, right? So people said, I had all my plans in January, and now suddenly I needed to change. So for us, an organization, we had to adjust. Clearly, we had to start working from home and so on. So I'm really grateful for all the Tidians, so our employees who adjusted so seamlessly to that. But there were a lot of changes we had to do as a business ourselves. But you're quite right, Val. One thing we immediately turned to was our members. And as Tide, we know that we don't always get it right, but if we don't get it right, we don't get it right, not for lack of trying. So member first is one of our values, and actually our core value. And so really our attention immediately sort of came to how can we help members in this crisis? And they were sort of at multiple levels. So the first level was, how can we help those that suffer the most? And for that, what we really tried very early on, we were the first ones to sort of do help hubs. We really helped people to get to know the government's plans. We try to support as best as we can on bounce back loans, as everyone probably on the call knows. We try to desperately get the government to fund the whole thing. I spent weekends, late nights, and so on, trying to get that done. I mean, in the end, we did do almost 60 million. Clearly, we do recognize there's more demand. And we would have hoped we would have gotten the government to fund it directly, but nevertheless, we tried very, very hard. And so we've continued in that vein as we went through to give people advice and help of how to adjust. So that was of one strand, helping those that suffer the most. There was another one strand that was really around those that say that want to adjust their business models. And for them, we really invested very heavily in 3 things. So one is the whole invoicing solution. So I think, as you said in the beginning, we always had invoicing on the platform, but we've massively transformed the invoicing product set. So you can really now write really professional invoices. There's a lot more going. And if you are in business to business or even write the odd invoice, do try out the Tide functionality. It's really moved on significantly and will help you save a lot of time. So we invested heavily in the invoicing, and we will continue to do that. So there's a lot of really exciting thing coming now. Then in expenses, as you say, we traditionally had already the way to classify expenses. We have a lot of stuff coming up, in particular launching in Q1 around team cards, so what we call expense cards. So we recognize people now work remotely. You may need to give one of your employees a card, but you don't want to get free access. So you will be able to set limits on the cards, how much they can spend. You can supervise them. They will have a special access to a part of the app that just sees their transactions. So there's a lot of good stuff coming up on expenses, as Michelle was saying, to allow the sort of new ways of working. So we've been very active in that sphere. And then there's a third group, which, as Michelle said, the great thing about the entrepreneurial spirit of this country is that people didn't only see the crisis as the crisis for what it was, but also as new opportunities. So we've seen record formations of new companies, and so of new businesses. And so we've done two things in that sphere. One is we launched a company formation service. So an amazing 1 in 20 UK companies are now get set up through Tide. And you can do that for free. So, and you can do that with the account opening. So we've helped a lot of people start out in entrepreneurship, taking, the opportunities that emerge. And then the other thing we're very proud of, that we kept account opening open, right? So throughout the entire crisis, sometimes we had a bit of challenge with service levels, but throughout the entire crisis, we've tried to keep current accounts open. Unlike many banks who sort of said the easier thing is just to shut it for a couple of weeks and give ourselves the space, we really said, look, we need to help people in this time and continue to open up current accounts while the thing lasted. So a very, very busy year, and if I may say so, I'm not only grateful for the members bearing with us, but also for all the Tidians who've worked extremely hard in very challenging environments in the last couple of months.
Thank you so much, Oliver. I think this brings us as well. So you've mentioned how we completely changed our look to the roadmap, how we adapted quickly to best support our members. That leads us to one of our latest initiatives to help our members, which is amidst the pandemic, to help UK small businesses the most in need, type charity. So we launched it in partnership with Daily Mail and the Federation of Small Businesses and Karen Brady. Oliver, can you tell us why this was important to Tide, and Michelle as well, how you think this could make a difference for small businesses?
Yeah, so maybe just the idea how it arose. So when we, back in March, actually said, like, how can we help people? We recognized the different sectors, and that there in particular some that needed, some limited funds to basically get them restarted. Because remember, the lockdown was very hard. People had to shut down, and then you need to sort of start out again. And we wanted to sort of help in that spirit. Now, for various reasons of donations and tax and so on, it's best done through a charity. And so I'm really grateful for the Charities Commission to approve the Tide charity, and actually in record time. So if anyone had ever tried to set up a charity, this is not a trivial task. And so we actually got the charity registered in record time. And just in time for the second lockdown, right? So it was just, coincidence, and that's when it came through. And we really set out to help members. So we have raised about 200,000, and we give them in grants around 1,000. So the idea is that we can help you tie over, a bit like what Michelle was saying, through no fault of your own, you got yourselves into a problem, you need to maybe slightly adjust your business model, or you need to just buy stock to restart, etc. And we want to avoid, give a little bit to help people avoid, going out of business just for lacking a little bit of liquidity. And so if you've exhausted all your government grants and, opportunities there for support, and you have a case, we've done that. And we do that in sort of waves. So we're just about to announce the first 200 grants that will go out probably within, a week or two, to help people as they come out of the lockdown, maybe out of the Christmas period, to make sure that they will survive and they can then, stand on their own feet in 2021.
Thank you so much, Oliver. That's great to hear that we are helping those small businesses. And just for the ones of you who would like to know more, we have a dedicated website for Tide Charity, so make sure you go to see it. Michelle, can you tell us a bit more about what your thoughts are on Tide Charity and maybe other helps for small businesses this year?
Yeah, of course. So I'm sure every small business watching feels the same. The cash flow is the most important thing for small businesses, and sometimes just a little help to get through the next week or 2 weeks. While give you a little bit of breathing space while you make a plan. And it's not about replacing revenues that are lost, because the best thing for that, of course, is to get back up and running again, to actually to run your business. But it's, giving a bit of breathing space, or giving you a night's sleep, actually. And it's really important not to underestimate the mental health impact, actually, that 2020 has had on small businesses. And I do think that things like this are helpful to give people a moment of optimism and a bit of hope as well. I think as human beings, we all thrive on hope. And I'm hopeful that 2021 will be a better year. There are, there are a lot of programs, government programs, to support small businesses. And as you mentioned, not everybody is eligible for them, and some people are not eligible for any. Of course, there's been, I don't want to be churlish about this, though. Churlish is the right word. The government has put huge amounts of money into the small business sector this year, and for businesses that have been able to access them, and has been absolutely transformational. Whether it's a local authority grant so people could pay their rent, whether it's the furlough scheme, of course, has been huge to maintain jobs this year, and encouraging that it is continuing till March, and hopefully will continue at the current levels to March, if not further, if it's needed. SCISS even for self-employed, also really important. Things like deferral of VAT, and even with the deferral of VAT from last year, which obviously then would be due in this March, you can now defer that further. You can spread those payments. You can defer your tax due at the end of January, spread those payments. So I get the sense that, and we keep hearing new announcements, every few weeks there's a new winter plan announcement. So the government is responding, and absolutely there is help out there. It's never going to be enough, and I think that's an unfortunate situation. We need, and also I think my strong feeling is always, it's not just about the money. What we need to do is help small businesses best allocate that spend, to best put a strategy together for their business to get them through this. Thinking about how they move their business forward, sort of in the round, not just, I got a grant, I'm going to pay this urgent bill and then panic again tomorrow, but help them find a way forward. And the thing that I would always stress as well, and that most people don't go into running a business with a business education, and even those that do, it's very different running your business in a crisis to running it on a day-to-day basis. Most of us have never seen anything like this before and don't have a roadmap for how to do it. So the key thing is, reach out for help. There's lots of support available on the Tide website, for example. Talk to people, talk to your friends, talk to other small businesses. Make sure you're making the most. Come and talk to Small Business Britain. We've got loads of free help and support available. Just don't try and get through it on your own. I think that's really the key thing. Don't try and get through it on your own.
No, absolutely. And I think this is something small business really show. There is a support network, and there is this, you mentioned, Michelle, at the beginning, an entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that definitely exists. So absolutely. And that's definitely something we try to encourage within our members as well, is to reach out to each other for help and tips on anything small business related. Thank you both for, discussing the Tide charity. I wanted to remind everyone as well that we continue to fundraise to offer more grants soon. And for those of you who wish to make a donation, this is possible via the website. Now, what I wanted us to move on to is really, Oliver, if you could, because I'm wary of time, briefly mention to us, because you've mentioned them at the beginning as well, but the product we are launching this year really to continue further help our members. So yeah, Oliver, please, if you could please tell us about, the revamped invoice, team cards, plus cashback.
Yeah, so exactly as I already previewed that a bit, what we did to help businesses, always in the spirit, right, of saving time, in particular, in a digital way. As Michelle was saying, we're really noticing that a lot of members are becoming increasingly digital, and in many ways, I think it's been said before that, this was always a trend that was happening, but we're probably seeing acceleration by 2 to 3 years, right, of people becoming very, very digital. So on the invoicing, we did some exciting things. For example, now you can do, invoice chasing. That's just one of the many features within that. So if the invoice isn't paid on time, the system will automatically chase. We have, as I said, on the expense cards, done quite a bit. That is in preparation already about classifying expenses, etc., and you will be able to manage your limits. And then, here it says cashback, but there's a broader theme of the membership plans. And maybe because I didn't mention them in the beginning, very quickly talk about that. So remember, we now have almost 300,000 members, almost 1 in 20 UK SMEs, do their financial services with Tide. And while people have become more digital, there are some people that want phone support and some people that even want a dedicated relationship manager. Now, I often get this question of why doesn't Tide offer free phone support for all? And the short answer to that is just, we try to keep the base product as free as possible, and it's just economically not possible. We're all business people; it's just not doable. But we do recognize that there are people that are, that do want that service, and so we launched the Plus service that gives, in addition, so if, the normal, as you all know, the normal Tide service has in-app chat, and that works well for the vast majority. For those that want phone support, we offer 24/7 phone support with the Plus plan. That's easily bookable. And then we have the premium plan that actually gets you a dedicated relationship manager. And one of the things, the way we think about it, in addition to these additional contact channels that they offer, they will offer some, additional value add. And so one of the exciting things is we added with one of the plans, Cashback Plus, we added a 5.5% cashback. So particularly if you're a heavy user on the cards, it actually pays for itself. And we have quite a number of people that actually get more cash back than the plan costs. And so it's a nice little feature that sort of helps, generating additional, value for our members, and allows us to offer, the dedicated service that comes at an expense, right? Because of course, having phone support or dedicated relationship people, does cost. We need to make sure we run a stable, financially stable platform.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Oliver, for walking us through these features. And for those of you who weren't here at the beginning of the event, just wanted to remind you that as an early Christmas present, we are offering to our members on our standard plan attending this live event to try out the membership plus cashback, that Oliver just mentioned for free for 3 months until the end of December. So just, chat to us in app and reach out to us if you have any questions about that. Fantastic. Well, we've talked about, what happened this year, the challenges, COVID, and all the restrictions with all the different tiers and the safety measures brought for small businesses, but also the opportunities, right? The capacity of small business owners to adapt, to change, and becoming more resilient. So what I wanted to, talk about you next is really what to look forward to in 2021, in terms of small businesses. What can they get ready for? What can they get looking forward to? And also what, Oliver, what Tide new features we are launching next year. So first of all, Michelle, can you tell us, please, if you can, select a few, the top advice really for small businesses to prepare for 2021?
Oh, yes. It's funny, isn't it? I was talking to my team about how we sat here a year ago thinking, right, here's the plan for 2020. And that didn't quite work out. So that would be my first point, which is don't make a 12-month plan. We don't know exactly quite how 2021 is going to turn out. And actually looking a month ahead at a time is probably a bit more sensible right now, and avoids the disappointment when your plans don't go off, which we know was a massive thing, and a massive thing for people's mental health, I think, in 2020 as well. Having to let go of your dreams, and for a lot of people, most small businesses, it is their passion, it is their dream. So shorter time frames for plans for a start. Digital skills. There's so much that you can do as a small business. And even if you think that you're all over it and you've got it tough, there's always more. And there is so much help out there available for digital skills that's completely free. And you know, we do loads of it. There's lots and lots of it out there. For my second thing is don't pay for help for a start. Go and get as much free stuff as you possibly can, because there's loads of it out there, loads of training, like bite-sized training as well, like go and do an hour workshop on something. One of the things that we're hearing, it sounds like this is not a big trend because it's been around for years, but Instagram, the big thing for 2021. But actually what we are seeing is a lot of businesses are discovering the opportunities for their business on Instagram that maybe they hadn't really either noticed or maximized before. They might be on as an individual as opposed to their business. We talk about, do you have a business profile? Check on your phone. Is it a business profile? Is it a personal profile? Switch to a business one and suddenly all these new things pop up. Data or insights. I'm a bit of a data geek. I love information. And one of the amazing things actually about the speed of technological change in the last 12 months, actually, some of it stimulated by COVID, is a lot of things that used to be the realm of big companies, things that you could only really access if you were a big corporate, are now accessible to small businesses at either free or really accessible prices. And one of the things actually is data. So what do I mean? What I mean by that is, to keep it really simple, is when you do something, find out if it's been successful. If it has, do it again. If it hasn't, move on. So failing fast is an important thing. Give things a go and fail fast. So if you're on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or you've got a website, or you've got Google My Business, all of it gives you insights. It tells you how you're doing. Did this post reach lots of people? No. Maybe change what you're doing. Was this post really successful? Fantastic. Let's repeat that. You can also get there's loads of free stuff out there. As I said, free platforms like things like Union Metrics. You can look at what your competitors are doing. I think of it as an homage rather than stealing. Look at what your competitors do. What was successful for them? Maybe you could replicate that in some way. So data. Don't get bogged down with it. Just look at the data that's going to tell you, how am I doing in this? Brilliant. Do some more of it, or stop doing it if it's not working for me. Because we all need to be I think we just need to be faster in how we adapt our businesses, in adding new things on, in rethinking what we're doing, because the world is changing really fast and we're needing to respond to events. And I think the final thing I would say is about diversifying your routes to market or sales channels, which all sounds a little bit like I wrote it on a PowerPoint slide. So what do I mean in plain language? It means have more than one way of selling what you sell, in essence. It's because we don't know which routes to market are going to get shut down. And we saw that really plainly last year in a really simple way. If you only had a high street shop and you didn't have any other multi-channel offering and your shop got shut down, you were either stopped, or you were at least stopped for as long as it took to create a new sales channel. And that applies online as well. If you just sell through your website, think about other platforms that you can sell through. Don't rely on one place. Don't rely on one thing. Don't rely on one route to market. Equally, if you're exporting, and keep an eye on changing rules in the next 2 weeks, obviously. There's not a lot more I can say other than look at gov.uk, because there's sort of things we don't know yet. But also, look, one of the big things actually is moving outside of your local region. And we've seen that a lot. That's been a growth area in 2020. And I think 2021 is going to be really important. So maybe you used to serve your local community with digital channels. Maybe you can reach out to the whole of the UK, or maybe even the whole of Scotland, for example. So thinking kind of the next level out. Doing that with your multiple different routes to market or different options to sell, and making sure you know through your data what's working and what's not, and getting it all for free, also very important.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Thank you. That was very, very helpful. And just because I know one of our some of our attendees asked about the Brexit question, obviously you just touch base on going and getting the information that they need, and just try to be the most prepared and ready as they can. And once again, really, having that agility to adapt, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we spent 4.5 years talking about Brexit, and then suddenly the conversation got shifted very rapidly to COVID. And although we have technically left the EU, the transition doesn't end for another couple of weeks. So there will be changes. And I do think that a lot of businesses have been overwhelmed with information this year and challenges and problems they need to solve, and that have been much more mission critical, existential stuff that businesses are trying to solve. So the question of Brexit got pushed out, and the end of transition will bring some changes. And you may think it doesn't directly impact your business, but the chances are it will in some way. So it might be somewhere in your supply chain, or it might be in your staffing. It could have an influence on your business that you don't know about if you don't at least maybe give a little bit of time to thinking it through how it could impact your business. I know a lot of small businesses have said that even with changes coming in, they just don't have time to make any changes to their business in time for the end of the year, and because we aren't clear on what a deal, or if there will be a deal yet, will be, it's hard to make a plan. I think that the key thing is to be aware that something is changing, to be aware that you might need to adjust something in your business, just to have a little kind of, and it's always a good thing to do anyways, just in your business, and think through what impacts, what your supply chain relies on, what do your staff rely on, what your products rely on, and just thinking about what might change that could impact you, and being aware of it, I think, is a good start, which is much better than coming back in January and going, oh really didn't expect that to happen, and then having to adjust on the fly again. Now, I know that's not the most fantastic of guidance. I can't give you a kind of here are 3 things that you have to do right now which will make you completely bulletproof to any possible, there's not that kind of solution, but continue to adjust, continue to be aware, continue to look at the advice, being really clear about what your business depends on in order to do its critical things that it does, is going to put you in a better position. And actually, I think on that point, a lot of businesses, the way they've adjusted in 2020 has actually put them in a better position for Brexit, because they've had to make a lot of these adjustments already. They've had to really look forensically at their business in 2020 anyway, and I think that does help.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Michelle. So, fantastic to know. Just do your homework, look at your business. Most of them, as you said, already did that for 2020 to better adapt and are already more resilient. So hopefully that will help for Brexit. And, turning the COVID-19 crisis into an opportunity is achievable, as you explained, Michelle. Oliver, this is exactly what we want to achieve as well with the new futures we are building. So in September, as some of you may know, our attendees today, ClearBank, in partnership with Tide, was awarded 25 million from the RBS Alternative Remedies package. Oliver, could you tell us about this feature and what it means for Tide members?
Yeah, so first of all, what is this sort of BCR and RBS alternative remedies and so on? Just very, very quickly, in the last financial crisis, which we all thought was the big financial crisis the big crisis we would have in our lifetime, until we learned that there's something COVID-like coming along. But anyway, in that last crisis, as you know, the government became a large shareholder of RBS, and to offset the competition effect, RBS had to pay 750 million into a fund called BCR, or administered by BCR, that is meant to increase competition in the small business sector. So business banking sector. So we applied for that, and we had a first grant last year. We did very, very well delivering against that, and so there was money given back by Metro Bank and Nationwide, who were no longer willing to fulfill their targets. And so there was another competition, and we won one of the largest prizes there. So Tide really is the only major awardee that got actually 2 grants out of this, which I think shows that, at least by the judges of this particular panel, they really appreciate what Tide is doing. Now, what specifically are we delivering? Because that's the real question. It's not money that sort of goes there and for us to freely spend. It's there to change things. And so what are we changing? So one of the things we are launching with this money next year is something which we call a managed services network. So you will actually be able to find your accountant and your payroll providers, maybe other people in future, on the Tide platform. And this may be one of this with Michelle. I was sort of smiling a little bit when Michelle was talking about other routes to markets. That's how we see it. We will actually open, if you're an accountant or maybe a payroll provider, you can actually register. You will be able to register yourself with Tide and actually find small businesses who are our customers will then basically be able to find you on the platforms. That's the managed services network. We will also build out the funding network. So one of the things we learned clearly is that the funding needs are very diverse. In COVID, it's a bit of a bizarre situation that it's all government supported, but we'll go back to a new normal. And we will work with something like 20 or so finance and banking partners to make their products available on the platform. And we'll do that in a very user-friendly way so that small businesses that are our members can find the right financing solution. And we do know that people are very sensitive about their data, so we won't be sharing data freely. But if you want to, you can then, for example, consent to sharing data with those funding providers. That makes loan applications a lot easier. So that's another really big one that's coming up. And then probably the most transformational thing we're going to do is, many people know us for the business current account, but actually Tide, when we look at Tide, we actually see a business financial platform. So we really want to be there for you as members to write your invoices, to do your expenses and so on. We're not overly hung up about it being done with the Tide current account itself. And so the really radical third thing that's going to come out of this grant is that you will be able, if you have an existing account, say with HSBC, Barclays, Lloyds, through open banking, you will be able to hook up this account into the Tide platform. So just basically it's a click of a button, right? And you authenticate yourself. And then you can use that let's say, Lloyds Bank account through the Tide platform, initiate payments and so on. But even more importantly, use all the great features that Tide has about invoicing, expense classifications, and so on. So that will really help businesses that are a little bit more established and that find it hard to switch, even though they don't really love that bank. You can essentially virtually switch to Tide without switching your bank account. So these are three really exciting things that are going to come up with the BCR funding.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Oliver, for talking us through this. Very exciting stuff to be looking forward to in 2021. And thank you both for your amazing insights into what this year meant for small businesses, how they can keep on learning and adapting to be ever more robust and ready for 2021. Before we move on to the cash prize draw and our Q&A session, please do take a minute. At the moment, we have about 4 or 5 questions. So please do take a minute to put your questions in the QA box. We'll try our best to answer as much as we can in the few minutes we have left. So I will give you time to do that, and in the meantime, whilst you type your question, I just wanted to briefly remind you that the team cards Oliver talked about are included in our paid plan memberships for free. You can order them directly in just a few clicks. Once again, for those of you watching us live today that are on standard plans, you have our plus cashback offer for you to trade out for free for 3 months if you wanted to. If you have any questions, please do just reach out to us. We're here to help. If you have any questions after this masterclass as well, do reach out. And also just to let you know how, if you want to keep up to date with our event and what we are up to at Tide, I am sharing right now with you in the chat box some link to our social media pages, YouTube page, events page. So make sure you follow us. We are also sending all of you, our members attending this live event today, a goodie bag, so make sure you keep an eye out for it. Right, so it is now time for the raffle. So if you have ordered a team card between Thursday and last night, you have been entered into our prize draw, and our 3 winners today are Joe, Brendan and Nguyen. So congratulations to the three of you. Please open your Tide app and check your in-app messages. We've sent you a message right now to let you know how much you've won for the three cash prizes. Feel free to comment in the chat room if you're one of the lucky three, and don't forget to tag us on social media if you use the prize for your team, maybe your Christmas social team, or some piece of equipment that you needed to buy. So we hope that this will help. Okay, now we are going to move to the Q&A as we have our first questions. Fantastic. So I will stop sharing my screen for now. Okay, so the first question that we have today is from Michael. So Michael, I'm going to answer live the question. Will there be any more bounce back loans next year? Oliver, could you please answer Michael?
Yeah. So I wish I could say yes. Unfortunately, as you know, we've had to, unlike a bank, because Tide, of course, is a bank platform, not a bank. We don't have access to the Bank of England. This is where the banks get their money for the bounce back loans from deposits or from the government. We've been lobbying very hard to get access to direct funding. And that's why, in the end, we just couldn't persuade the government. That's the long and the short. And so we've paused the program. Now, technically, the government can still change its mind, but I would not keep the hopes up. And so I don't think we will be able to do that. It's been one of those things I know that a lot of people were very unhappy with us about this. And just to allow me to say two words, I mean, we really, really tried our best. We went in, we raised as much as we could, these almost 60 million of our own money, on our own. And in the end, we had so much demand, we needed government support on that. And it was just not structurally, available. And so, we would have wished we could have done. And I can tell you, as we spoke to every single bank that has any name in Europe about it, you can safely be assured that everyone in the Treasury, the British Business Bank, BASE, which is the Department of Business, Enterprise and Industrial Strategy, they all know that we've been trying to do this, and we lobbied them very hard. But on this occasion, we were just not successful in getting the direct funding that was needed to continue with bounce back loans.
Thank you very much, Oliver. I'm going to the next question. Actually, it's not a question. It's just Sarah shared with us. I run a travel business, but I've launched a new online business supplying snack boxes for people who can't travel. That's lovely. Well done for doing that pivot and that adaptation we were talking about throughout the whole session. Well done, Sarah, and hopefully all the best of luck for your small business.
I think that looks fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. Well done. Everybody go and buy from Sarah. What a fantastic.
Go for it. I will just actually paste the link into the chat room again so everyone has it. Fantastic. Well done. Okay, so the next question is from John. Can we expect better integration of foreign currency into the accounts? Oliver, if you could please take this one.
Yeah, so absolutely. So this is one of the things we've been working on very, very heavily. We know that about 11% of members need international currency and international transfer. So it's not everyone, but for those 11, of course, it's very, very important because it's part of their business model. And it's been one that we haven't really been able to offer so far. So you will see the first part of that going live during the course of Q1. And then by the end of Q3 of next year, you would probably have in foreign currency, 90% of what you would expect us to do. So it's very high up on the agenda. It's in, late stage development. And, we will, make these features available because we do recognize for the 11%, it's very, very important.
Fantastic. And this also is linked to Leronim question. My business is transport and logistics, and I have clients outside of the UK, and I need to collect money from France and Germany. When can we use the IBAN for transfers outside the UK? So, yeah, thank you.
So that's the same thing. So that will be all part of that package.
Fantastic. Thank you, Oliver. Okay. Then there is question from Stephen. Hi, the Christmas gift, is it Tide Plus or Tide Cashback? I'm happy to take this one. I'm happy to let you know it's Tide Plus Cashback. So you should have received all the information via email, but don't hesitate to just reach out to the team. We'd be happy to help. Okay, then I think there is another one from Mark. Mark is asking, what funding are in place for small tech companies? Are deposits, and then, okay, sorry, we'll start with the question from Mark. What fundings are in place for small tech companies? I don't know, Michelle, if you want to take this one, maybe.
So specifically for small tech companies, without knowing too much about your business, I would say the general government support programs. I mean, so definitely look at the Tide grants as a start, and also how small are you is another question. So I know that's not very helpful answering you with lots of questions, but you can access furlough if you have staff that you need to put on furlough, even just for a couple of weeks. And always remember it's flexible as well, so you can put people on and off. So if you're having trouble just getting through, you can reduce your costs by putting people on furlough for a couple of weeks. It's not ideal for a long-term solution for any business, but obviously that's available to you. You should talk to your local council as well, although a lot of the local authority grants are rates related. The bulk is rates related. Councils have also been given discretionary grants. So there is a discretionary pot for businesses that are struggling locally. And actually, I don't think a lot of people know about this. So it's definitely worth having a conversation with your local council about that too. There are, without knowing exactly what nation you are in the UK, it's a little hard to say, because Wales does have some extra pots actually as well for local grant money. So it's always good to have a look on the Welsh Government website as well. And do you know what? This stuff keeps coming up. We keep seeing more and more of it. So it's always worth a little bit of a Google. But I would start local. Start with your local council and start with your local government if you are in Wales or Northern Ireland or Scotland. Then look at the kind of the broader programmes that are available to you. Oh, Mark's saying, oh, we're in London. Okay, right. So speak to council as a start. There are discretionary grants available to all local councils. And I often find actually in London, people forget about their local council. You tend to sort of think more about London rather than actually your local council. But that's how the money's been distributed. So it's always worth to have a chat with them. The other thing I would say is that when we talk to businesses about their resilience, it's the ones who have explored every single option to them that tend to feel the most robust. So rather than thinking, this is, that kind of route's not for me, just look at everything. Look at every single thing. There might be a couple of £100 here. There might be a little grant there. There might be some little tweaks you can do. So just give everything a go. Do a bit, ask around in your local area as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm going to take, I know we are past the time, so if I'm just going to take maybe two more questions. There is one from Brian, which I'm going to give to Oliver, please. Are deposits in Tide protected by FSCS up to the 85,000 limit?
Yeah, so we have two types of accounts at Tide. So if you opened your account before, I think it was April of this year, your account would have been a Tide account that is provided by PPS. And then after that date, it would have been provided by ClearBank. You can see this in your account if you go in the terms and conditions. If it's with ClearBank, it is a full bank account. And so yes, it's it's protected to 85,000, just like any other regular bank account. As you know, there are a few exclusions. So if you're, for example, a financial institution, you're not protected. But if you're a normal small business, you generally, you would do it. There's no exception to that, right? Just like if your account was protected at a high street bank, it would be protected there for the 85,000. With the old PPS accounts that people would have had before April, it's an e-money account. So the way it works there is the money is not protected under deposit protection, but the entire money is safeguarded. So it's held somewhere and protected. So it's a different protection mechanism that works there. And so those are the two protection mechanisms that are in place at Tide.
Thank you so much, Oliver. We need to wrap up now. Just can my new bookkeeping practice get a shout out? Absolutely. Chill Out Bookkeeping. Congratulations on launching the new business. And congratulations. Okay, I think we've reached the limit of our time, but thank you again so much to our wonderful speakers, Michelle and Oliver. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so much to all of you who are watching us live. It was fantastic to have you today, and we will see you at our next event. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Have a good Christmas. Bye.
Happy Christmas. Bye-bye.